Hey guys, the professional yappers are back with a part two of a very interesting conversation that we've been having since last week. If you guys remember, we talked about the identity tug of war that a lot of us often face. So this time around, we want to touch on the aspect of language specifically because there's a lot of nuances where language is concerned. So, of course, I am your host, Lucinda, and I'm here with
Joanne.
and our guest, of course, the one and only Ms.
Charlotte Makala.
All right, so Charlotte is going to greet us in a language that, in her tribal language,
Yes.
because this is one of the things that we want to discuss. Charlotte,
Yes,
do us
so-
the honors.
Yeah, I'm just wanting to flex for the internet, just because this is like the one.
This really is a flex.
But it's like the one thing, or maybe one out of the three things that I know in my tribal language. So it's how to greet, and so you just say uleleani, like that's like how are you, and then the response is izadu.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we can try it together.
This is
This is kiniramba.
okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I will greet you guys, and then the response, you remember, izadu.
Izadu.
Yeah. Uleleani.
Izadu.
Oh my gosh, look at us.
Language, guys. Language.
Look at us.
So good.
That felt so good. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's just basically how you say hi.
All right, so you're a better woman than both of us because wait, can you speak? What tribe are you?
I'm Korean.
Do you know how to greet in Kikorea? No, you don't.
I know how to respond to a greeting,
Ah.
but I forgot. Like, don't ask me to do it in front of the internet.
So you don't.
Like,
You don't. Like, I'm not
I
even
try.
gonna embarrass myself. Not on this internet. People did not forget. All right. So Charlotte, when you came back, could you speak Kiswahili?
Yes, I was very fortunate that I grew up in the Middle East. So in the Middle East, there's a lot of. I grew up specifically in Oman. So in Oman, there's a lot of people from Zanzibar. So they speak Swahili. So Swahili was around me.
Okay.
Yeah, and then growing up, I did go to an English school, and so what had to happen and what worked for us in our house was that my mom spoke Swahili and my dad spoke English for us to be able to navigate.
Both languages. All right. So that means when you moved back, your Kiswahili wasn't.
My Kiswahili was very poor. And also, I would say it still is because while I can navigate and talk to people, the reality is that I have never studied Kiswahili.
Yeah.
So there's still a lot of gaps.
Yeah.
And so there's sentences that I can say, but words that I don't know. And so maybe to just give an example, there was a time when I first got here, I had never heard the word smile, tabasam. I never heard that word before. And so I could, I could ask for directions. I could, navigate my way from here and there. And I could order things and I could have a basic conversation with someone. But then I remember there was a day when like, oh, tabasam. What is that word? Like, so you see how there's certain little words that I don't know. And then sometimes I get confused about days of the week a little bit.
I still don't
just
know the
because
days of
I
the week.
didn't study it. Like I never wrote down the Yumatatu, Yuman. I never went through that process. And I still don't even take myself through the process now. Like now, when I have the choice, I have the internet, I have everything, but I've never sat down and said, "You matatu, you
Or
man."
even time.
Yes,
still don't know how to
I
spell
struggle
time
with
as well.
time as well,
Swahili
just
time.
because,
Yeah.
But so, and I think I also just generally struggle with directions and numbers. So it's like I struggle with that in English. Now you want me to do it in a different language,
Yeah.
and so what I do is that I always imagine the clock like if you want to say 6 p.m. just I visualize the clock
Invert it.
and then say like 6. What's the opposite? What's the opposite?
Yeah.
So that's how I do it. I don't do any subtraction or whatever that you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
I just visualize and then do the opposite. So 6
it's
is
a whole
12.
process.
Yeah.
So weird.
It is, but I just the math. I don't know if I can.
I
do
know.
the math
No, I
on
get that. I get
Yeah.
that. For me, funny enough, like I've worked here.
Yeah.
And I know we do content.
Yeah.
Right. This was my aha moment. I was like, oh, so I know Swahili, but I don't yet know Swahili. We were in this meeting and they kept talking about maudhui this, maudhui that. And I'm like, huh?
Maudhui.
So thankfully, I
Yeah.
remember sitting next to Boki in the meeting. So I whisper, I'm like, what's maudhui? This man went like,
But what?
I'm like, don't laugh, bro.
Yeah, we
He's
did.
like, how long have you worked here? I don't know what Maudhui is.
Yeah.
That does not change the question.
We're having
And
this
then he's like,
conversation and I
it's
still
content.
don't know. Content. Maudhui is
What the hell?
Ah, okay. I learned
Maudhui.
something new
I
every
was in
day.
this meeting for 2 hours and I
Yeah.
had no idea what was
Do
being
you know what I
discussed.
used to do at a previous workplace? I used to write all the Kiswahili like words on the back of my notebook and then go home and Google them. And like sometimes I was writing. You just write it just like that, like how it sounds phonetically.
no.
Yeah,
No,
luckily,
no,
yeah. And then
it's
luckily we have such a like phonetically sounding language that it just sounds like whatever you're hearing, it sounds exactly like
Exactly
that.
as
Like
it's
it's
written,
not
yeah.
like English. Yeah.
Yeah. So like that was like my first moment. I was like, oh, I know Swahili,
Yeah.
but like not yet. Not yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when was the first time your Kiswahili failed you?
I think it's not that I have failed my Kiswahili. And there's big moments and small moments. I remember once I went to like a kiosk and for whatever reason, I don't even know what was going on with me that day. I think it's consumption. So I think that day, maybe like, or that week or whatever, I hadn't used Kiswahili at all. So now it's time to go to the kiosk and time to, what was I looking for? Anyways, it's time to ask for something. And so it's one of those kiosks where you have to ask for the thing and he gets it for you. You don't just pick the thing that you want.
Yeah.
And so nikaenda kule nikababaika and I was just like, I want the and it was the English word.
the word is right there?
The word is, it wasn't, so I could only access the English. I think it might have even been coffee and I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't say kahawa. For the life of me, I couldn't think of it. It was just not accessing. So I was just looking at the guy and he was looking at me and I'm just like, no, but and then I had to point and to show him like that's what I want, I just couldn't think of the name. And then there was another time, this is I think like when I feel big emotions, and the previous episode you're talking about how when you had the panic attack you started speaking Afrikaans.
Yeah.
So the first time my body surprised me, and this was in the first couple of months that I had been here, I went to an event and it was a friend's event and, he was showing off he does fashion. And so he did a fashion show, and so he wanted to thank me and he was thanking like people and he's like, oh, and thank you, Charlotte, And then, and this was in Kiswahili, by the way. And so suddenly, and we had always been communicating in Kiswahili. Suddenly, I think because of all the excitement, my body refused this way.
Went back to default.
Yeah, so default mode, and it just, I just started speaking in English. I'm like, what am I doing? I could not access my Kiswahili at all that night. I think I was just so excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I also, so it was a very
High
strange
emotions, yeah.
feeling. Yeah, I was so excited when I wanted to speak. The Kiswahili wasn't coming out, so I felt excited, and then there's somehow this thing of like disappointment in myself, like why was I not able to express this in the moment? Yeah, so I felt a bit disappointed.
So how do you think that affects you, like emotionally, being judged, being seen different because of the way you express yourself with the language? What do you think is the emotional impact that you feel?
So for me, it definitely affects me emotionally. It makes me feel like an outcast, really. I feel like I don't belong, and sometimes when I spiral, let's say I'm having a really bad day, and then someone makes a comment on Kiswahili or my lack of knowing it or something like that, it really, really affects me, because I feel like it's one of those wounds that I've carried for a long time. So when I lived outside, I never belonged there. And then I guess coming back here, I had an expectation of belonging that was never met and that perhaps may never really be met. Yeah. And so when there's a comment on Kiswahili and just maybe perhaps how I don't speak it well, then I can spiral on a bad day and feel like, oh, I'll never belong and I'll never do this. And then it affects my confidence in certain areas that have nothing to do with Kiswahili.
Yeah.
It just affects my confidence overall.
Yeah. What about being left out of conversations? Do you experience that?
I really hate being in a group setting where people are talking like hardcore Swahili, let's say, because what I talk is softcore. So like hardcore Swahili and not actually understanding what people are saying and they're laughing and enjoying. And you just feel like, haha, yeah. You don't actually understand. I think I get my feelings are like a bit more frustration and anger because I'm like, I should know this, like I should be able to understand this, but I don't. And then it kind of makes you overthink, like, am I just being lazy? Maybe I'm not putting in enough effort to actually get to know the language and like all this. But at the end of the day, you just have to understand that, you're learning day by day, step by step.
But that would also, like on the other side, you're now being perceived as being aloof, being bougie.
Yeah.
There should be more, like, does that invoke feelings of like shame or embarrassment?
For me, it's more frustration.
Frustration, yeah.
It's frustrating.
Yeah, me too. I would say frustration. But, going back to the conversation of being in group settings and people are talking Swahili, I love it when people forget that I'm there. Yeah, because I keep quiet. This is the moment where I shrink, and I love it when they forget that I'm there because I get to, in real life, experience like a conversation flowing. And then I'm also picking up words and, and then I'm also learning at my own pace. When someone is speaking to me directly, then there's a pressure to answer them, to respond. But when it's forgotten that I'm there or I'm very quiet and it's like, everything's chill on my end, then watching other people flow and speaking Kiswahili, I really enjoy that because I'm learning.
Do you keep up?
Huh?
Are you able to keep up?
Yes, I'm able to keep up.
I actually hate group settings because I can't keep up.
Okay, I can keep up. It depends also if I'm tired. Like there's moments, like you said, default setting. If I'm extremely tired, I cannot keep up. But on a normal day, I can keep up. But there's a bit of a delay. And if I'm forgotten that I'm there, that it doesn't matter because I'll catch up anyway. And so it reminds me of even going to church.
Yeah.
And
I was gonna get to that as well.
Yes. So so then, so there was a time when I was going to church, so it was a Kiswahili speaking church. And so, pastors, sometimes they like to make jokes, And so there was a pastor there and he was walking around and he made a joke and then and this was when I was brand new. I think if I would go again today, I might catch on a bit quicker or the delay wouldn't be as much.
Yeah.
And so he's making jokes and people around me were laughing and I'm like, and then later I'm like, I want to laugh now. Like I'm
like you finally
and
clicked.
process the joke, but people have stopped laughing. So I'm like, what do I do?
Yeah.
What do I do? And it's like already 40 minutes. Sorry, not 40 minutes. 40 seconds have passed.
Yeah.
It's too late to laugh, but I just understood the joke. So what do I do? So yeah, that was my church going experience, like the first few times, and yeah.
So I actually don't do the Swahili services at church.
Yeah.
Because I can't keep up for the life of me. I remember there's one specific book in the Bible, and there was a time our pastor was really teaching from that book, Ecclesiastes. It's already a mouthful in English.
Yeah.
In Swahili, it's, I don't know. What's Ecclesiastes in Swahili? Oh my God. Even they don't. Do you guys even go to church? Ecclesiastes.
Ecclesiastes. Yeah, but that's the thing. The books are different.
It should be Kumbukumbu la Torah or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I remember we were in church this Sunday, and it was one of those conferences. So we only had the one service. It wasn't a Sunday. We just had the one service, and it was like Swahili. And I had actually gone to ask for an interpretation device. And because I asked in Swahili, I think they assumed that it was for a guest. I'm like, no, it's for me. So the first guy declined to give me the device, and I was like, so I had to talk to somebody who actually knew my situation, and then I was sorted. So in the process, actually this was now after the service had begun, I was like, oh, I'm not gonna keep up. So I remember when he said Kumbukumbu la Torah, I was like,
what is that?
What on God's green earth?
Yeah. Yeah, the books of the Bible are the names are so different.
So different.
I'm like, are we
different.
reading from the same Bible?
Yeah, and I think what surprised me is that they're different completely.
Completely
I
different.
wish
And by the
that
time
they had at least sounded the same.
by the time I summed up the courage to ask my neighbor, this pastor had
moved on
so far ahead. So I was like, no, I'm not gonna keep up. So I went to go ask for the interpretation device, and then that was a whole process. And eventually I got one. And that was the day I was like, yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm not doing Swahili
do-
services ever again.
I do go to an English speaking church now, and I see the value in that community. But I think, like I said, when I was new here, I was very hard on myself, and I said, you must be a real, Tanzanian, you must speak Swahili. So I was going to that church on purpose to immerse myself,
In the culture,
So I said, no matter how difficult it is, no matter how strange you appear, I'm going to immerse myself. But later on I figured it didn't quite work, because what I noticed was also culturally, there's a way in which I would think that maybe was not, that people around me did not think in the same way. And there were certain, we just don't think similarly. And then unfortunately or fortunately, we can say that because people, like, I guess I just have more that I can relate to with English speakers. And that's the truth of it. That's the truth of it. And so I think when I accepted that, then I was able to find spaces where I fit. But I think before I was really trying to make myself fit into places that, like, that I will never fit, probably.
I think for a native Swahili speaker, the thing that is a bit difficult to comprehend is the Swahili that you speak, the Swahili that you read and write, and the Swahili that is used like in churches or formal gatherings. Those are very different Swahilis. Yeah. And oh, by the way, like the first time I went to Kenya and I was speaking Swahili, and my hosts were like, oh my God, we love the way you speak Swahili. I remember calling, like texting my people here. I'm like, first of all, I speak good Swahili. I don't know what you guys are on about. Like out here,
so good.
the people who appreciate my Swahili, they're like, please speak some more.
Yeah.
Back to what I was
That
saying.
is so nice.
I know that was such a confidence boost. Yeah. So, like, the settings that Kiswahili is used is so different. And for a native speaker, the switching is easy because you learned Kiswahili in school. You did so many levels of literature in Kiswahili that we didn't do.
Yeah.
So when you're moving back and you're learning the basic communicative Kiswahili, ya kuomba maji, sijui, asking for direction, it's very different than when somebody puts you in front of people and expect you to talk about something serious or explain like a product in Kiswahili.
Yeah.
I mean, case in point, the whole Maudhui content thing. I'm like, I've been working here for years and I still didn't know what Maudhui was, you know?
Yeah.
So the language that is spoken, the Kiswahili that we use day to day is so different from the official. It's also very different from the slang. You know, somebody saying shwari to me took a moment, and I'm very sure that I'm not pronouncing it right.
No, you're pronouncing it right. I think so.
I can't.
Anyway,
it is so different. Like, he's laughing.
My brain honestly shuts down when someone starts talking like formal Swahili or like really proper Swahili. My brain is just like, come here and out. Like, I'm not even
I actually zone out, and that's why I don't do like gatherings. It's so difficult because, and even like the regular groups.
So I think there's also like an element of exclusion, and so I understand that there's sometimes when I want to connect with someone, but there's a language barrier between us, right? And so it takes extra effort. And then as you're like us both being adults and everything, it's like, oh, do I have to? Is it worth it? So you just get tired and the relationship dissolves.
Exactly.
And so there's that element of exclusion, whether it's dating or even friendship. Like I know there's a time when there was this lady, I really wanted to be her friend because we do kind of the same thing, and she's a creative, she's a writer, and and I really admired her career and just her ideas and stuff. But then, like I said, I can receive and interpret and comprehend well, but I couldn't express. So when I was trying to befriend her, I felt like on my end, now to speak in Kiswahili and now to do this, it was a lot of effort, and mental strain. So I just, I said, you know what, we'll just be WhatsApp and Instagram friends. Like, I don't know if we can do this because it's a lot. And so just that exclusion, so I now realize that there's also a self-exclusion that I do, which is like, if I know, like, for example, certain events, if I know that they're in Swahili, I don't go. So I exclude myself because I'm just like, I'm going to sit there for 2 hours and I won't understand much.
My zone out is insane. Like, you can tell when I've zoned out. Like,
Same.
I have a very expressive face,
Yeah.
and it does not hide anything. So the moment you start, this is why I said earlier, I don't do group settings, even if it's just like regular conversatory kind
Yeah.
of Kiswahili. I feel like I have to like completely be alert
Yeah.
of everything that is being said, as opposed to English. I can listen passively
Yes.
and still not miss out on
Yeah.
anything. But with Kiswahili, I have to actively
Yes.
pay attention. Who said what? How? Like read the gestures
Yeah.
in between
I cannot
people.
listen
You know,
to-
so
yeah.
it's a lot of mental work
Yeah.
for what should be a social gathering.
And you're better when you're not hungry because it just makes it 10 times
Yeah.
10 times worse and slower. And
Yeah, but what do you think
very-
of like politics of proper Swahili?
Proper Swahili. I don't know if I have an opinion on that. I feel like I'm not even in the realm of Swahili speaking, you know. So even, yeah, I feel like I'm just trying to get by. So even whatever Swahili it is, I'm just trying to get by, you know.
As long as it makes sense.
Yeah,
at
as
this
long as
moment.
I can perceive and understand some things. Yeah.
Yeah. So how is okay, because you already had like the few basics of Kiswahili
Yeah.
when you moved back, but how long did it take you to actually get comfortable, like to have conversations?
It depends who I'm talking to. So one of the things that, like, I feel like people who know me and don't judge me, it is very easy for them to realize that I comprehend so much more. So when, this is the thing, like, I think there's also like a comfort level with my cousins where they just speak to me in Kiswahili. They don't even, you know, they don't speak English, they don't whatever, because they grew up with me. So when I would come back home for holidays, they would see my mom speak to us in Kiswahili. And so they grew up seeing and watching and understanding that, oh, her mom speaks to her in Kiswahili, meaning she understands.
Yeah.
And then we would play together, and now we're adults. So some of my cousins, their go-to language is Kiswahili. And so they just speak to me, and and so I appreciate and I really value those relationships. And you can see how comfortable I am with them and they are with me. And I do have one colleague as well. We're both very passionate about film. And so when we talk, I really love our conversations because there's moments where you can see that we are so focused on the topic, we forget that I'm speaking English and he's speaking Swahili.
yeah, I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I remember my first jolt to language reality was when I moved to Tanzania. There's this lady I really used to want to work with her. She owns a PR firm. And so when I graduated from uni, I remember it was the first time I was coming back, but then I still wasn't sure if I'm like coming to stay permanently. So I remember reaching out to her and on Instagram, and she responded. And she was like, "Yeah, sure. When you come for your December holidays, hit me up. We can have a conversation."
Yeah.
Cool. I was excited because I was like, even if I don't stay permanently, at least I can have like a little holiday gig just to get a feel of. So I even told like my mom that I might have a job, yada yada yada, mentally preparing them. So I came to Tanzania and I go see her, and we're having a conversation. She's Kenyan, so we have a conversation in English, and so she's like, you know what I do is in Tanzania, so the bulk of the work you need to do and the people that you're going to meet need somebody who can speak Kiswahili.
Yes.
So for the purposes of like the remaining duration of this interview, I want to have a conversation with you in Kiswahili. In my head, I was like, oh God.
Yeah.
This is it. The worst. Like I was freaking out. Like I knew everything she's asking me.
Yeah.
I understand
Just
her.
can't respond.
And my instant response is in English.
Yes.
And she'll be like, you said Kiswahili.
Yeah.
I'm like, look, I'm gonna disappoint you.
Like,
I'm just gonna be honest.
Yeah.
Like I understand everything you're asking me, but I'm not gonna be able to carry this conversation in Kiswahili.
Yeah.
I will have like the first sentence, and I'm pretty sure
Everything is gonna
midway
be Swanglish,
I'm gonna
yeah.
switch back to English.
I really love my cousins as well for that because they know that I can understand Swahili.
Yeah.
Of course, I can speak Swahili also, but like when I get stuck, I can just switch it over to English,
Yeah.
and they'll continue
They'll
the
still, yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
So those are the people that
but
know you.
people who
But now, like,
don't
this
know
was
you-
work. Like, I was
Yeah.
job hunting.
Sometimes, you know, I actually start stuttering.
Yeah, me too. Me too. When I was new, and this is the code switching. Like when I was new, like when I told you that time, I went to ask for coffee and I couldn't access it, and I had to point. After that, I like that whole week, I was so low in my confidence. I had to do something else and had to interact in Kiswahili. I started stuttering. And I had never studied in my whole life. I was like, I don't know what this is, but there was such a high anxiety.
Yeah.
I had never studied.
Another one is
Never.
I have a feeling a lot of us have been
Yeah.
through that. Or still
stuttering?
go through it to date.
Okay, I think that was.
I think I still go through it. Like, if
comes
I have
from
to
stuttering?
to express something in Kiswahili, especially when I'm like in a gathering or
Yeah.
I need to speak and I've been told you really need to stick to Kiswahili. So like I would start off so well and I'll be like Sama and you know, like I have that moment. I know,
no, when I say
like
stutter,
borders.
I'm buffering,
Yeah.
but then I'm also stuttering because like I know the word, but then it just won't come out.
so when I say stutter, it's not even just the buffering. I think that I had a whole week of like anxiety.
Yeah.
And so when I say yeah, that kind of stuttering. That's why I said I never have done that
Also,
in my
mine is
whole
buffering.
life.
Mine is real time buffering.
Yeah,
Like-
so I had just been stuttering and I just was so confused. And so that was a real moment of low confidence for me. Yeah, and I went home and I'm like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I get this? And this, it was just a language barrier trying to get through it.
But like, okay, Kiswahili is already difficult enough. There's
Yeah.
also tribal languages,
Yes.
and we've not even touched on the slang.
Yeah.
How did you even get to like the tribal language?
The tribal, I think my dad and my aunt, my dad's sister, they speak Kinyaramba in front of us. And then also growing up, I would come here once a year. And so we would go back to Singida and I would hear it here and there. But my dad he speaks it with his siblings. Yeah, so I would hear bits and pieces.
Okay, I mean, I know my parents' tribes,
Yeah.
but I've never heard them. Not even greet.
Yeah.
I don't even know if my dad knows how to greet in Kipogoro, honestly.
But it is dying, I think, among like the younger generation,
Yeah.
right? Generally, even.
And I think for us also what made Kiswahili difficult was even at home. I have an uncle of mine, he lives in Australia and his kids speak perfect Kiswahili. And I was so shocked
Yeah.
the last time I saw them. They speak better Kiswahili than me and they're younger than me. So my uncle was like, the thing that he did intentionally was when you're in the house, you're in Tanzania. So he says they have a Tanzanian flag somewhere in the
Yeah.
house, I don't know. So whenever they get home, you forget that you're in Australia. In this house, we're in Tanzania.
Yeah.
So they speak Kiswahili with the kids fluently. So these kids can actually speak Kiswahili.
Yeah.
Whereas I think my dad just comes home and it's just an extension of his students and work. And so he just continues to speak to us in English. Like
Yeah.
we would only hear Kiswahili when we're being scolded in front of guests.
Yeah.
Yeah, when my mom doesn't want the guests to know that we messed up,
Yeah.
and then she would switch to Kiswahili, and
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, once these guests are gone, we are getting an ass whooping.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was also like one of the reasons why. So we never even got to hear tribal languages at home, and even here, I don't know if I've heard my dad speak his language with his siblings,
Yeah.
much less my mom. So, and my mom's an only child, so
Yeah.
that's even a whole other
Are they
thing.
from the same tribe?
No.
Okay.
My dad's from Morogoro, my mom's from Iringa. So very different
Yeah.
tribes. So I don't even think, I don't know. I've never heard them speak. Maybe they do, but I've never heard it.
Yeah.
I've
You
never
can
heard it.
ask. You can
I
ask.
can ask. I know my younger sister is more into the tribal language, so I think she knows how to greet in Kipogoro. Me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have enough
Next
languages in my
episode.
head.
Yeah.
That's a conversation for other episode. Yeah, so the whole learning, I feel like it's a journey, right?
It is.
And when you move back, you're already in the journey of like figuring a lot.
Yes.
And then you still need to learn the language.
Yeah.
What advice would you have for somebody now coming to relearn Swahili or I think relearn Kiswahili,
Yeah.
refamiliarize themselves with the language. What kind of advice do you have for them? Because I feel like there's a lot of pressure when you
Yeah.
move back to speak that language that everybody is speaking, so much so that we forget that it's a process
Yeah.
to learn this language. You need to make mistakes. You need to. I think if I remember in the other episode with Dr. Sifa,
Yeah.
she mentioned that when she was it Zimbabwe, South Africa, one of the two, she learned the language through insults, which is something I also learned in
Insults,
Zim
yeah.
and
Through
Botswana. Yeah,
insults?
I was
Okay.
taught insults in Shona.
Yeah.
They would teach me the Shona
the
insults.
funniest way to
Yeah.
learn
Yeah,
language.
and so like you'd speak in front of people and everybody be like, oh my God, she did not just say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so with Kiswahili, it's like how, because now you're still like, well, navigating.
Yeah.
I use the word navigating. Oh my God, we've used it so much.
Yeah.
Like you're still playing, you're playing
Juggling.
catch up. Yes, you're juggling. You're playing catch up. You still personally need to make peace with yourself and the fact that you don't really know this language well and all
Yeah.
of that. But then you also have to keep up because life is still happening,
Yeah.
whether you know the language or not.
Yeah.
So, what advice would you give to somebody who's coming and they have to juggle that?
I would just advise that person it's going to be extremely hard. There, you will feel the pressure, you will make mistakes, but I would plead with that person to try and give themselves grace
Yeah.
and to be patient with themselves.
And most of the pressure that comes is from us ourselves.
It's internal.
Yeah, it's internal.
So
Yeah.
it's like, just take a deep breath. It's okay. Take things extra slowly, you know, because at the end of the day, people still try to want to try and understand you, like, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
don't let yourself too hard.
Yeah.
Easier said than done, though.
It's, yeah, true.
Easier said than done.
Slow it
I feel like
all
it's
the way down. You don't
yeah.
have to know everything all at once. you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so still, the local language, the local Swahili, Swanglish is not as embraced as the local Swahili. So there are communities and there are places where you would go and everyone's like, okay, Swanglish is a normal thing here. But then there are places you would go and the moment you switch between the languages or you mix words and they're
Yeah.
like, we're from Tanzania.
Yeah.
And then you have to deal with that. Like, okay, I used to love going to the flea market, Kariako, and the likes, because in Namibia, South Africa, you have those chain stores.
Yeah.
So whatever you wear, somebody else is wearing it from either it's from Edgar's or
Yeah.
it's from Mr. Price. It's you would walk
Everybody
in
has
town
the
and
same
everybody
thing,
has the
yeah.
same outfit. So the highlight of me coming here would be that I get to go to places like Kariako and Karume and get unique things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you go to Kariako and you don't really know the English and you speak Swanglish, immediately they're like, I will say I have. So something that you would have
Yes.
paid 500 shillings,
Yeah.
you end up paying 3,000.
Yeah.
And my brother's wife, there was a time she took me to Ilala, Pogoma. And as we're headed there, she goes like, whatever you see, don't talk, just point it, I'll do the rest. I kid you not, that woman can negotiate.
Wow. Yeah. you're
Like
so
I
lucky to
have
her.
seen her drop something from 12,000 to 2,000.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
she's like, don't talk, just show me what you want.
But
Pick.
that's, yeah.
That
Yeah.
is
Yeah, so
a
I had somebody
superpower.
like that because every time we'd come, like I would come and I'm like, I need a lot of money. And my sister-in-law was like, oh,
Yeah.
I just need 50K. You get a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wish I knew you sooner.
Yeah, but that's amazing.
Why didn't he marry you sooner?
That's so
Yeah.
cute.
Yeah, so that was like the highlight, one of my favorite parts about coming to Tanzania. Like,
Yeah.
I'd get to go to the flea markets and all of that, but you're easily spotted.
As soon as you open your mouth.
Not even open your mouth. The moment you walk in, like they're like, fresh meat.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like you're easily spotted. So, I mean, you can't really do much, maybe perhaps about the way you walk or how you look and all of that. But when it comes to speaking to like the locals, how would you advise somebody to like go about that?
I would say at your own pace. So there's a friend of mine who's also in our same boat, and he does not speak English. Like he does not speak Swahili very well either, despite being here for many years. And like the accent, everything is so Western, and even so, he speaks mainly Swanglish. Like, you know how we can sort of navigate going from English to Swanglish to Swahili. He doesn't go to Swahili. He does not.
He just ends at
yeah, he
Swanglish.
just ends at Swanglish. Yeah. And so I have seen him go to the barbers. I have seen him go to the market. Even he just So I would say own it.
Where is
own
his barber?
He lives in Arusha.
Okay.
So I don't know the place.
Arusha is a very touristic town, so
It is.
there is that.
But he also goes to the market.
Still.
Yeah.
There's a lot of white people, so I feel like Arusha is really adapted to...
I can kind of relate to this because in Uganda, because that's where my dad's at right now, he does that a lot. Like he really, not the Swanglish, like with the Lugandan, he really switches it up because he's not from there, but of course he's trying to learn the language and everything. So he goes to like the local markets and he goes, like to the deep areas and everything. And he's like, I just kind of live it, you know. And the best thing is, maybe somebody might giggle at you for getting something wrong, but they'll always correct you, and they'll always be like, oh, actually, this is how you're supposed to say it. And then you can never take yourself too seriously.
Yes.
You can always make a moment lighter by just giggling at it. Someone will tell you this is how you're supposed to say it. Say it and let's get
So,
better.
like, knowing what you know now with
Yeah.
the language, do you think language has in some way made you feel less Tanzanian?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I think it has forced me to really embrace, it's forced me to embrace my background. I was going to say heritage, but it's the wrong word to use, but it's forced me to embrace my background and understand that these were my life experiences resulting in who and how I am now. And therefore, this who and how I am now is not 100% Swahili, and it will never be. It will never be. And so I think once I accepted that, it really just made life easier. Because like I said, I think the first few months I was here, I was really trying to immerse myself. I was doing a lot just to try to fit in and be the version of me I thought I had to be. And it was all internal. No one told me that you have to be this thing. It's just that I realized it was such something that I was lacking. And I feel like in English, I can express myself very well. And to just be in a country where the main language I can't express myself well in, it really made me uncomfortable. And it just, so therefore I had to try, and I wanted to be able to say, I tried my hardest and I did this and I did that. But then I really suffered a lot from just fatigue. Like you said, I cannot passively listen to Kiswahili. I cannot passively do that. So then I was just finding myself getting tired at things because it's not a passive language. Like I feel like in English, listening to the radio, I can still pick up things and like even be able to tell someone, oh, I was listening to this conversation about XYZ, but in Kiswahili, like you said, I don't have that ability. I have to be very active, and that takes a lot of brain power. So I realized that as I was putting myself through this thing, the immersion was taking too much brain power. And then I think what made me decide to switch lanes was realizing that there's a cultural divide as well. So it wasn't just the language, it was a cultural divide where I felt like we were not thinking the same.
What about you?
I really agree with what she has to say, because me personally, I used to be really insecure because it's like knowing that I'm Tanzanian and stuff, but not being able to live up to that standard of what a typical Tanzanian might be. So after like going, I think my big sister really helped me with this, because I used to have like a lot of anxiety surrounding like even navigating, like going in the buses and everything, transport. And my sister just one day told me, and she was like, it's all in your head, right? Like no one actually cares. Like you just take a deep breath and realize that this is actually so internal. Like I said, that's why you just need to like kind of make light of a situation other than taking it so seriously, because we're all human.
I wish someone had told me that when I first got here. Like, don't take yourself so seriously, because I think that's what happened. I took myself very seriously, and there was an expectation that I put in my head that I had to live up to.
It really is in our heads.
So once you realize, because at the end of the day, we're not going to be the first Tanzanians who have arrived here and don't know
Yeah.
don't know the
Yeah.
culture, don't know whatever.
Yeah.
So it's really internal, and once you kind of realize that, then you can start carrying yourself in a different way.
Yeah.
You know, and actually enjoy the Tanzanian experience. So yeah. that's good.
But like
Points.
at the end of the day, language is not just communication,
Yeah,
It's
that's body
access,
language, whatever.
Yes.
It opens
access.
doors,
Yeah.
in your places of work, in your communities, in families, in friendships, and so forth. So, for us to actually have that sense of home, language should play, or it does play, a big role.
Yeah.
Which is why I think we need to get to a point where, even as a community, and I think some of the conversations that we're going to have, we need to have native Swahili speakers here, because it's important to have both sides of
Yeah,
the
both
coin.
perspectives.
Yeah, both perspectives, because we might think that we are not being how do I put
We're not being embraced.
we're not being embraced, but it could be that they also feel like we are not embracing them.
Oh, we have like this boundary up that you were
Yeah, like
talking
we have a
about,
barrier.
like the barrier.
And not just that, there's something that I don't know if you've experienced it. When you are with family, for example, I remember this actually happened a couple of times. You go to a gathering and a relative introduces you. Oh, really? What I'm with Charlotte. I'm a Kulianje.
Yeah.
Instantly, somebody places you in a box, and it makes you difficult or unrelatable.
Yes.
Yeah, then you become that cousin who always going to kusoma sufuria.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you guys, like, I shouldn't put it out there, but like my aunt, my mom, like they would have moments where they wake up and they're like, today ni siku ya kusugoma sufuria.
Yeah.
And she
they
would
would
take out
send you-
all
yeah.
her pots, and you have that steel wire and the sand, and she's
Yeah.
like, I want to see my face on this.
Yeah, my
By the
mom
time you're
was,
done.
was like that as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm really glad that there's those experiences.
Yeah.
I think it's just because people associate English with a certain type of lifestyle,
Yeah.
and so they don't think that you can do those things. But if they knew,
We still have African
True.
parents.
yeah, we still have African parents.
No matter the
Somebody's
language,
like,
we're
somebody
speaking,
looks
we
at you
have
and she's like,
African parents.
unapikaga kweli?
Yes,
Well,
they're like,
kupiga
bruh.
KFC, you're like, I'm
People-
sorry, what?
Yeah, people think I can't cook. I remember, there was a time where basically like the consensus without me was that I couldn't cook. That was, just because of English.
Yeah,
English.
I get that a lot.
Just because of English, I
I
can't cook.
get that a lot.
Yeah.
Somebody's like, yeah, what I'm gonna call a KFC too. I'm like, I don't even like KFC.
I
What
know,
are
yeah.
you talking
With my
about?
family, I really like how it's like everyone knows in a way. And they'll be like, oh, Julia's the white cousin or whatever. And I'm like, you know what? As long as nobody's telling me to go outside and wash plates,
Yeah.
it's okay.
Sometimes, that's like you can get away with it. Yeah.
All right. So, like, what do you think should be our takeaway as far as language is concerned today?
I think the greatest takeaway is really what you said, which I wish someone had given me this advice or I had listened to this earlier, which is don't take yourself seriously. That could have really helped me. I think I would have cut down the immersion process that I was trying to do to myself, and then I think also just really being patient. It's a process. It's a process. And then really self-acceptance. I think once you are able to accept yourself, then the people around you will also be able to, like, they'll be responding to an authentic version of you, not a person that you're trying to live up to.
Yeah.
And then once you're that authentic version or a version of yourself who's accepted that, you know what, this is who I am, this
I'm
is how
from
I
a
am.
different background.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, there's a
that
Yeah.
doesn't make me any less Tanzanian.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then you'll find your people, and even when you're not amongst your people, you'll just be so content within who you are and how you are that you'll be able to still connect with those who are different from you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna go back to the bowl with Hako for what she said about like truly accepting the fact that hey, I didn't grow up in Tanzania. I have all these things in my background that make me who I am right now. But since I'm here and I'm immersing myself in this culture, I'm bringing myself into this culture and I'm trying to embrace this culture into myself instead of like forcing things, like just really standing still and accepting and being aware and being like, yeah, we're here now, and this is what we're
I think
doing.
I learned acceptance the hard way. Some guy taught me that, I can't date you because what. I'm sorry, what? That feels like you're just projecting.
That's your
insecurities.
problem.
Yeah,
Go
exactly.
fix yourself.
Because why should I feel bad about what my parents decided to do when I was 1 year?
Like my parents saw an opportunity, they took it. You did not penalize me for it. So
Exactly.
the acceptance, yes, that was a big part of it. But also figuring out or accepting the fact that I can get away with English more than I can with Kiswahili, and that's okay. I can get a lot done. For example, it's effective. It's a tool.
It's a
you know,
key
the moment I
superpower.
stopped feeling like, how are they going to perceive me because I speak in English?
But
Government
it's-
office and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I would walk in there proudly. I'm like, hi, I'm here for 1, 2, 3. You either step up.
Or show me.
If you speak to me in Kiswahili, I'm okay with it. I will respond. But don't force or demand that I speak to you in Kiswahili just because it's a government office or just because you're trying to service me or whatnot. Like the moment I realized that it's not so bad, you can actually have a conversation with somebody. You can actually express yourself in English. If they don't understand, they'll genuinely tell you that, hey, I don't understand you. But if they understand and they respond in Kiswahili and you establish that sense of we understand each other, but we're just going to respond in different languages, but we still understand. It's okay. It's effective. It works. So making peace with that as well. And I know for those coming back, you're going to meet a lot of those incidents, and it's going to feel very awkward at first, and you're going to feel the pressure that we've been talking about to speak the language that everybody else is speaking. But I think it's important that people understand that it's okay.
Yeah, self-acceptance.
People don't really make a big deal out of it. Actually, I feel like people will actually respect you more if you're confident in, as you say, authentic with how you express yourself, as opposed to when they can tell that you're trying, but you're not yet there. Because then that comes as also you're undermining my intelligence. You think I don't know English. So there's a lot of little nuances that go around that. So I think that's my take out the authenticity that you should have, as well as understand that the world is not going to end just because you spoke in English.
Literally, Hakuna Matata.
Exactly. All right, so another game. Another game. I want to see how you guys know Kiswahili.
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
What's mbwembwe?
It's
Like too much, like doing too much.
I don't know. I just know this. It's like drama. Like what is this?
Extra
Like being
sassy.
extra.
Yes, being extra. Being
Yeah,
Being
extra.
extra sassy.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What's kukata mauno?
I have no idea.
Kukata maono, isn't that like twerking or something?
Yeah, that's
like
what I
whining?
think. Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I like this.
Okay.
You're doing so
Yeah,
well.
I've been doing,
All right.
I've been practicing, guys.
You've been practicing what exactly? All right. Okay. This is a statement. Oh my god. I need to like swallow.
Okay.
Bongo flavor, si bongo flavor tena.
I understand that in the very literal sense, like the music bongo flavor, the genre.
Is whatever.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
not like
All right. Kibamia versus Mkwanja.
I don't
I have no idea
You know what
what that is.
Kibamia is?
No, I have no idea.
Do you know
I know
what Mkwanja
Bamia
is?
No.
is though. Bamia is like lady fingers, right?
I know what Bamia, in the literal sense, I know that.
I don't know
Bamia
if Kikwanja is
Kikwanja,
from-
I
Yes,
know.
this is local slang.
What is it?
Oh, no,
What is it?
No, you can't just be laughing by yourself.
Yeah,
on the phone.
I'm
I
gonna
have
have
to say.
to answer this question off camera.
No,
Oh
tell
my
us
God.
what it is.
Off camera.
But you
Then why
mentioned
did you
it on
want us to answer
camera.
it on camera? We're just
Yeah,
setting
what
us
is
up,
it?
Lucy. Listen.
So it's a lady finger.
Lady finger.
Kwaja donini. I don't know it.
I thought like
Kibamia.
Yeah, Kibamia is lady
It's
finger.
lady.
No, it's not. Not in this context.
Yeah, not in, okay. So in
the
this
local
context,
slang.
okay, Kibamia
not
is okay. Is it
Bamia
something-
is lady finger.
Lady, yes,
Okay,
but then
Kibamia.
Kibamia is like a
Bamia might mean
Is
it
it-
small, like, because he like
You know,
makes
like the
things small.
eggplant emoji.
yes. That's what I'm thinking as well.
Yeah, but like a
Yeah.
small one.
Okay, and then
Mkwanja. Mkwanja is money, I think, or pay or something like that. Am I right? I'm lying. I am right.
So then what's the full like?
Mkwanja is money, like.
Okay, so then
like
what's
the whole
the sentence?
thing.
So I gave you kibamia or mkwanja.
Or
Like if you're to choose between kibamia
Yeah.
or money.
Okay,
Money.
okay.
Obviously.
So,
Yeah.
one
Alright. Alright. Unaonekana kama haujashuka bado.
I
don't
understand.
know
I
what
know
this
how to translate. Like you look like you haven't.
made your hair.
You're still on a high horse or something?
Okay, maybe that's what it means.
Yeah, this is like local slang.
Okay.
So none of this is
Yeah.
literal.
Okay.
No,
All
we're
right.
talking about hair.
Madikodiko.
What? You know how to cook?
Like when
Yeah,
there's a
but
lot
like,
of things.
you know, like the extraness when you're cooking.
Yeah, excellent.
So is that a good thing or bad?
It's a good thing,
It's a
like-
good thing.
Like for
okay.
example, pilau it's got that like traditional pilau
Yeah.
that you'd make, and then kuna madikodiko, and then your pilau is different from my pilau.
Okay. So you added extra spice.
I
That's
love
what
how
it
we're
means.
lying to each
Yeah.
other. We all don't know.
Yes. Do we
Guys,
even?
don't laugh at us.
Are we?
The internet
Yo,
is going to troll us.
They
with this.
will. If
All
such
right.
if we're
No,
wrong,
don't
we
try
know.
that's correct.
All right, the last one,
guys.
manjonjo.
Manjojo means sis. You Manjojo. I'm
Manjonjo
learning
is like
today.
having a lot of things going on, maybe.
Guys,
Like
help.
manjonjo. Like
Manjonjo,
on a
what's
manjonjo thing, like I think I don't know. Correct.
I feel like manjonjo and mbwembwe are
Is it the
similar.
same?
They
The
are.
same.
They're kind of similar. Yeah?
Manjojo.
guys-
What is manjojo? In a good way or a bad way?
So I feel like mbwembwe
Because mbwembwe is
Mbwembwe
like a
is
little
more
bit
like
extra.
sass.
Yeah.
Mbwembwe is sass, I think. And then manjonjo would be drama, like extra drama, extra flair.
Flair. Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Spice again.
Woo, guys,
Yeah.
your language is difficult.
Yo, Swahili is really hard for real.
Yeah.
Anyway, don't confuse us.
Wow.
We've done all the brain work we can for today.
Manjojo.
Anyway, guys, this is we've come to the end of this particular episode. This was very insightful.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot more about language we'll need to discuss going forward, and some of our guests are going to share their experiences where language is concerned. Please,
Yeah.
internet netizens, guys, please be easy on us, ne?
Yeah.
I
don't
know.
tell us, don't be
I know we
mean.
probably did not do justice on this
Yeah.
little game here of Manjonjo and
Imagine,
Mbwembwe.
imagine if it ends up as a meme.
We will.
Yeah.
If we're
Guys,
not
don't
careful.
make us for me.
Yeah.
Please don't make us
Imagine just waking up one morning scrolling and I'm like, what are the damn men? You know?
Yeah, so thank you for tuning in. Thank you so much, Charlotte, for
Thank
coming.
you for having
Um,
me. Thank
We do hope to have you again going
Yes.
forward. You do write a lot. Charlotte, by the way, is one of our contributors on The Citizen. She has a column called The Work Frame.
Yes.
And she talks a lot about work culture, adapting into Tanzania's work culture and so forth. So yes, please do read her articles
Yeah.
on The Citizen website as well as the newspapers. Now, this brings us to the end of this podcast. Please do subscribe. We will be uploading, as always, our episodes on YouTube as well as Wanna Click.
Yes.
And of course, our social media accounts. So, like, what's the word? Subscribe,
Subscribe.
follow, blah, blah,
Share.
blah. You know
All
the
of
drill.
that,
You know
yeah.
the
Yeah.
drill. Yeah. See you guys next time.
Bye
And
bye.
thank you for tuning in.
Tanzania.
Bye.
Bye.
All right.